The hidden engineering of gas stations. I'm a civil engineer, so this should be my forte.
You're driving along in your brand new Ford Model T.
Holy, this is a cool
The
car.
roof is down, the sun is out, life is good, but you're running out of gas. Luckily, the world's first
Why is it called gas, man? Americans are weird, not gonna lie. It is a liquid, bro, not a gas. Do you not understand the three phases of matter, solid, liquid, and gas? Is there a reason for the chat? Let me know in the
around
comments.
the corner, so you pull in and fill up your car in seconds. This was a brand new concept at the time, and it
Really?
planted a seed that would go on to change the world. The car market exploded, and soon more than 150,000 gas stations had been built all across the country, giving
Okay, that was like 100 years ago. Holy.
people the freedom to
I wonder what the number is right now.
travel like never before. Since then, gas stations went from being dangerous fire hazards at the side of the street to ultra-efficient pit stops, pumping out 3 billion gallons of fuel around the world every day. We modeled the entire thing to show you the hidden engineering behind gas stations,
I am impressed by the intro. This video is by Primal Space, by the way. Do go and subscribe to them. Also, while you're down there, if you like civil engineering content, please subscribe to me as well.
the 100-year quest to master them, and the incredible mechanisms that make them work. In order to understand how gas stations work today, we need to go back to a time before they even existed. Most people didn't have cars yet, but kerosene was being widely used to power lamps and stoves. To get it,
I heard that kerosene was used to power the initial cars.
you'd go
I don't know how true that is, but that's what I heard.
to a store where an employee would pour it straight into a can and sell it to you. When cars started coming along, the kerosene would go from the store into a can, and the customer would pour it into their car using a funnel.
Okay, that seems dangerous, not gonna lie.
This was slow and dangerous, and so there needed to be a safer and more efficient way to pour kerosene. That's when American inventor Sylvanus Bowser came up with the fuel pump. This was a hand-driven mechanism that squeezed
Holy, imagine how many $1 billion industry a single guy made. Like, you would imagine the Wright brothers, right? Because of just these two guys, airplane is now like $500 billion industry. That's
kerosene
really
from its
impressive, man. How one people or two or group of people can influence the world economy.
container through a one-way valve and out of a nozzle on top.
Okay, so this rotates, this goes down, and pours out from here.
One full crank would dispense exactly 1 gallon of fuel. Soon, these pumps started being placed on city streets, allowing cars to be filled up conveniently by an attendant. But customers had no idea if they were actually getting all of the fuel they paid for. And so, a few years later, the visible fuel pump was invented. The attendant would first pump the fuel into a glass tank on top of the pump, measuring it to an exact amount. Then, by opening a valve, gravity would drain all of the fuel into the customer's car. These small curbside gas pumps worked well in the early days, when in 1900 there were only 8,000 cars in the whole US.
So the number of cars exploded, so the number of gas pumps needed to increase as well.
But just 12 years later, that number increased to 1.2 million, and suddenly, cars were everywhere. Traffic jams started building up around every pump, and the small 50-gallon tanks couldn't cope with the demand. Worst of all, having all of the fuel stored above ground meant that things could go catastrophically wrong. And so, in 1913, the Gulf Oil Company opened up the first dedicated fueling station in Pittsburgh. Instead of a single pump, they placed a much larger storage tank underground and connected it to 6 pumps, allowing multiple cars to fill up
Okay,
at the
that's
same time.
much safer.
On its first day, it sold just 30 gallons of kerosene. But the word quickly spread, and by the end of the week, it was already selling 350 gallons per day for around 27 cents per gallon. Similar gas stations
Holy. Now imagine the gas prices now. Inflation is crazy, man.
started opening up all over the country, and the car
Imagine telling a person today that the gallon fuel takes like $10. People would faint, man. Imagine telling someone from 1920 that a gallon would cost $10 in 2026. People would faint. They would pile up barrels of oil, man.
became the ultimate key to freedom. But by the 1920s, most cars had switched from kerosene to gasoline,
Yeah, that's probably the better
since
choice.
it burned more easily and was
I really like the smell of kerosene. Tell me, chat. Tell me in the comments if I'm the only one. I really like the smell of kerosene.
more efficient.
I mean, it's to the point that if they made a perfume out of kerosene, I'd probably wear it.
Problem: vapor. Kerosene had a flash point of 38 degrees, meaning that it wouldn't emit flammable vapor until it reached that temperature. But for gasoline, the flash point was negative 40 degrees.
Okay, this is really in-depth. I'm impressed.
And so it was constantly emitting flammable vapor into the air. This vapor would build up inside the tanks and pollute the air whenever someone filled up their car. All it took was one small spark and
Yeah, a little spark from a lighter, because smoking was really prevalent in this era, right? Everybody was carrying smoke. Nobody gave a fuck that they're near.
the customer would quickly become history.
Okay. Perfectly cut streams right there.
In order to turn gas stations from dangerous fire hazards into efficient self-service pit stops, some clever engineering had to happen. Up until this point, cars were always filled up by a trained attendant. But as competition started to rise, gas station owners were desperate to lower their prices. And so, in 1947, Frank Ulrich opened the first ever self-service gas station. By getting rid of the need for an employee, he was able to lower the cost of gas from 23 cents per gallon to just 18 cents per gallon.
Holy, take me to 1920s, man. I want to afford gas at this price.
Drastically
Not gas, petrol.
undercutting the competition around him. But the idea of customers handling their own gasoline seemed dangerous, and so self-service stations were banned throughout most of the country. The problem was, customers had no clue when their tanks were full, and so gasoline would often spill out all over the gas station.
Okay, that was a bad particle effect.
That's when engineers came up with the automatic shutoff valve. This was a simple mechanical float placed inside the nozzle that would rise and shut off the flow of fuel once the car was
So simple yet so efficient.
full. But deep underground, there was still one huge problem. Inside the huge storage tanks, gasoline vapor would build up, forming a layer of flammable gas. When it came time to refill the tanks, the vapor would get pushed out into the atmosphere, creating an almighty fire hazard. On top of that, the steel tanks would corrode over time.
Yeah, this is steel. They're stainless steel until 2000 something, right? If I can remember correctly.
Leaking gasoline into the surrounding soil. Nowadays, these underground gas tanks are made from fiberglass, and they have dozens of hidden engineering details that all go into making them safe. Here's how it all works. When a truck comes to refill the tanks every few days, it connects to a valve on the surface and gasoline starts flowing into the tanks. As the level within the tank reaches around 95%, a
Okay, this straighten.
flapper
Okay.
valve
The same mechanism as that thing. Got it.
flips up and stops the flow of fuel, making sure it can never be overfilled. To take care of the vapor, the truck connects to a second valve at the top of the tank.
Okay, this, I assume this absorbs the vapor.
As the gasoline is pumped from the truck into the tank, the vapor exits through this secondary valve and gets pushed back into the truck. That vapor is
Okay, now this doesn't this vehicle become flammable?
then returned to the processing plant, cooled down, and turned back into usable fuel. When a customer goes to fill up their car, a pump placed at the bottom of the tank activates and starts sending gas up through a series of pipes and filters into the fuel dispenser. From there, it flows into the fuel nozzle, which is perhaps the most interesting piece of the puzzle. Back in the day, this would have been a simple valve releasing gas into the car. Now, it's a mechanical work of art that makes it impossible to overfill a car. As the fuel enters the nozzle, it pushes its way through a narrow opening. Small holes around the opening lead down a thin pipe to a small opening at the tip of the nozzle. As the fuel flows, a low pressure region forms here thanks to the Venturi effect. Because of
Vacuum.
this, air starts being sucked in through the narrow pipe and into the opening, where it mixes with the gasoline. Another tube, also connected to the narrow opening, leads to a small compartment containing a sealed membrane. This is where
Holy, this is really in
the
depth.
magic happens. When the lever gets pressed, it pivots around here and opens up a valve, allowing fuel to pass through. But the only thing holding this part in place is a set of ball bearings. When your car is full, the fuel covers the hole at the top of the nozzle. This cuts off the flow of air being sucked into the system, and so the only other path to get more air is through the other tube. But it's completely sealed, and so this negative pressure sucks the air out of the sealed compartment, creating a vacuum and lifting up the membrane. The ball bearings are now free to drop, causing the whole lever system to fall, closing the valve and cutting off the flow of fuel. After the
Holy, that was impressive. Okay, that was really interesting. If you like civil engineering content, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and I'll see you guys on the next video.